Welcome to Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw, where we keep it raw, real, and unfiltered. I'm Zachyra Rodriguez, a trauma specialist and marriage psychotherapist, and this is a space where we dive deep into the messy, yet beautiful and often difficult parts of life. Here we challenge ourselves to face our fears and dig deeper into self-discovery. I'm no newbie. I've navigated many rocky roads and consider myself a recovered traumaholic. Life hasn't been easy, but I truly believe that everything happens for a cause greater than ourselves. Whether you're navigating with grief or grappling with trauma, healing from attachment injuries, or working on your marriage, we're here to unpack it all. No sugarcoating, just honest conversations about the struggles we face and the growth that comes from them. You matter, you are loved, even before your existence, and you're created to do great things. So grab a seat, my friend, take a long, deep breath, and let's get real together. So let's begin. All right, welcome back. We're back, guys. It is Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw. Zachyra Rodriguez here, and it is January 2026. Yes, and we are back. I know we're kind of close to the end of January, and I can't even believe that as I'm saying this. But for those that do not know me, I'm Zachyra Rodriguez. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist, and I just love working with people. I do a lot of work with trauma, with relationships, and we started this podcast pretty much to be able to bring to the audience different things, different topics that many times we don't really talk about, or we don't even feel comfortable, talking about. So that's why Soul Conversations with Z was actually created, to tell these stories. A lot of them are stories of redemption, restoration, where there was rupture, then there's now recovery. So I am just so excited to be able to share these things with you and just keep it real and raw. And if that's okay with everyone, and for the most part, it's been okay. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about goal settings and pretty much just checking in with everyone and seeing where you guys are. So every time around this part of the year, when the year has kind of started and we're trying to kind of figure out where we are, I really like to pause and focus on goal setting, vision, God's timing, and trying to be very, very intentional with my goals and where we are, in this part of the, season, because many times when the clock turns, that minute and it's 12 o'clock midnight and we're like, hey, Happy New Year. We think that everything has changed, right? And there's a good part about it, right? It's that sense of hope, that there's that newness, it's a new year. If I messed up last year, I can kind of get it right this year. And there's that hope. And God does give us hope, but we do have to be also realistic that if we're not intentional and if we're not consistent, nothing really has changed, and nothing a minute more or a minute less is not going to change anything. So we have to be intentional. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the goals, the vision, God's timing, and how do we enter and continue working through 2026, but with intentionality. Okay. So I think about it this way. I think about it that, when we talk about goals, a lot of people, they get into this resolution stuff. And honestly speaking, I don't like resolutions because you know what? I believe there's a day after the new year has started. I think it's 7 days after, that is called like a quit day. Everyone quits because most of the people that have set their resolutions, they're done. They quit already. Okay. That's why there's like these huge like gym memberships and everyone's into health and I'm going to lose all these pounds and all these different things. Listen, I've been trying to lose 10 pounds for the longest, but that's a story for another day. Okay. But I don't really believe in resolutions. I've seen just too many people, even myself included, right? We use them kind of like a way to punish us because it's like, we need to do this. It's a resolution and I have to do it, right? But in reality, it's like, do I really have to do a resolution or is it more of a goal setting, right? And let's talk a little bit about a goal. So a goal, it's not like a promise you make to pretty much like to never struggle again. It's more like, think about it like a declaration, and that you want to get to a point of pretty much getting to that specific goal, that specific item that you pretty much want to achieve, right? So it's kind of like an invitation, like to grow, to stretch yourself, and also to become more aligned with who God is actually shaping you to be. Because I do believe that sometimes we get all these different goals and everything else, but we haven't really checked them with God to see if that's really what he wants. So, and some of the most meaningful goals I've set, honestly speaking, they were little. They weren't like huge. They weren't loud. They weren't like, oh my gosh, I need to make, a statement here. They were just like very little goals. Like, you know what? I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week working on this specific corner. So I'll just share with you, right? Because I say I like to keep it real and raw. So I had in my room, in this little laundry container, I've had socks. Like when you do laundry and I don't know what happens to the socks. You know what I think? I think that the washing machine, that it eats it. Don't ask me how we had maybe over like 50 socks and they're all missing their partners. So I sat down at the beginning of, just a few weeks ago because the year just started. And I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I am going to match all these pairs together. And it felt like therapy. It was definitely very therapeutic. And I put my timer on. I set it for 15 minutes. And then I got so into it. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just do another 15 minutes. And that was a goal. So my goal was to find the partners of these missing pairs that I'm sure a lot of them were already inside the bag. And that's what I did. And I think that we need to step away from this mentality that our goals, they have to be big, and stop comparing our goals to the next door neighbor or our friends in terms of, what they're doing. Because our goals, it's pretty much is your goal. And many times God has given you a vision. He has given you something specific, something purposeful that he wants you to work on. But because of the fact that you're so busy chasing someone else's goal, you don't get to your own goal. And it's so, so important. So when you think about goals, is pretty much putting your mind to something, focusing on it, and then using the SMART technique. And I'm going to explain that in a second, but I want you to know that whatever that goal is, whatever it is that has been placed on your heart, you want to make sure that you can actually achieve this goal. And how do we do that? Okay. And I don't know if any of you guys have heard of something called SMART goals. Yep. That's what they are. SMART. Okay. They're not dumb. They're not silly. They're called SMART. And I use this method because it really, really has helped me kind of narrow down some of the things that, I need to achieve. Okay. So how does that look? Okay. So when we're talking about goal setting, right? The acronyms are S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R, is it relevant? Is it realistic? And T is for time, right? Time bound. So when you think about these goals, right, they just have to be clear. And the thing about clarity is that clarity helps our nervous system. It helps reduce our anxiety. It keeps us from setting these resolutions that sometimes they're not even attainable, right? So it's so, so important to be able to understand. And I tell my clients that all the time. I remind my clients, right? Are the goals achievable? Okay. And they have to be honest goals. Okay. So when we think about it, when we go into S, is it specific? Right. And when you think about specific could be, and I'm just going to use my example of my socks. I know that's a really silly example, but I want to share this example. And I wasn't even planning on sharing this with you, but I guess this is what we're rolling with today. Okay. So is it specific? Yes. I want to be able to pretty much match up my socks that they're missing, that the laundry, the washing machine has eaten up and I can't find, right? Is it measurable? Can I measure this? Absolutely, because I'm going to be able to find it, right? Is it achievable? Is it attainable? Absolutely, it is once I find the partner. Is it realistic? Yes, it is, right? And how much time am I going to spend on this? I'm going to literally spend 15 minutes a day and sometimes 30 if I get so into it. And that's okay. And that's what I want to share with you today. I want to share my heart in terms of when we get into these goals, they have to be things that is going to help you feel better. It's going to make you be better. And it could be, the littlest thing, or it could be a huge goal that God has placed on your heart. So when we start thinking about goal setting, I want us to really think about something. I want us to kind of pause for a second and really ask yourself, because sometimes we have like all these downloads and these desires on our hearts. But I am going to encourage you to really pray about them before you even begin planning. Before you even start writing out these goals, before you even start getting a pen and paper, before you even begin to create your vision board and make all these important and huge decisions for 2026, I want us to just kind of pause for a second, slow down the pace, and ask God, what are you doing in this season of my life? Remember that the book of Ecclesiastes says there is a season for everything. And if we could just take those pauses, and believe me, my friend, believe me, I struggle with this at times. I am not perfect because I just have so many downloads in my heart. I feel that God speaks to me in a specific place in my home. And sometimes I just get like click, 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 all these downloads. I feel like a computer, like you're downloading a file. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do this. I could do that. I could do this. And it's just like, sometimes it's the downloads are given to you, but it doesn't mean that it's the right season for you to begin. And God does answer, right? And when we ask the question, God, what are you doing this season of my life? Sometimes the answer isn't a green light. It's kind of like, hey, I'm letting you know this is something that I need you to start preparing for. But in the meantime, I need you to be still. And sometimes it's just a pause or a yield. And I know that is so hard, at least for me. It is very difficult because I could see it and I could feel it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm ready. And God is like, you know what? I'm giving this to you right now, but there's a development process that you need to go through. There's a growing season that you need to grow in. There are people that I need to send your way in order for you to be able to fulfill this. But if I'm not focused and if I'm not really in tune with him and listening to his word, I could kind of miss it. So I really want to encourage you today to just take a moment, slow down the pace. Yes, slow it down. Check in with God and ask him, what is it that he wants you to do in this season of your life? And when you hear him speaking, then you can begin. So after I'm done praying, I create something called a dump list. Yes, DUMP, dump list. And I sit down and I began to write down all these different things. And I'm going to be honest with you, there was a lot. I started this dump list in December. And I was like, oh my gosh, my husband and I were sitting at the table. We do this pretty much every year. And it was like, okay, I need to figure this out. I need to create this dump list because I have all these downloads. And okay, it's time for this dump list. So I just wrote. He wrote as well. And then afterwards, when I was done with it, I looked at this list and then there was time to begin organizing it. And how do I actually organize it? I organize it with my planner. I am a firm believer, people. Okay. And this is pretty much your number 3. I am a firm believer that you need to have a planner. Call me old school, call me whatever you want to call it, but it is what it is. You need to have a planner. Okay. So once you've done praying, you've done your dump list, then you jump into a planner. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be paper and pen. It could be as simple as that, or it could be pretty um, and beautiful through these planners that they have. It took me a while to find a planner this year. When I tell you, I started looking for my planner last year. So I had this really, really cool planner. It was a Christian planner, and it had scriptures. It had the prayer list for the week. It had to-dos, and it had all these different things Monday through Sunday. And I actually loved it. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it anywhere. And it looks like they are no longer making it. So I went on a planner hunt. I went to Target. I went to Walmart. I was online. I ordered some. I returned them. I went to Michael's. I went to all these other places, and I could not find the perfect planner. But sometimes we're looking for we're looking for perfection, and sometimes it's not about perfection, right? And I was able to find a planner called the Bloom Planner. I just love this planner. It doesn't have every single thing that I like, that I wanted, I'm sorry, but it has everything that I needed. And I say that to say that sometimes in life, we want so many different things and we're asking God, Lord, I need this, I need this, I need this. But guess what? And God is saying, it's not about all the stuff that you need, but what I am going to do is I'm going to give you, it's not about all the stuff, I'm sorry, about what you want. I'm going to give you what you specifically need. And I found this planner. First, I was like, oh, no, I don't know. But when I tell you, oh my goodness, it is exactly what I needed. And God will supply all of our needs, right? He will supply it in moments that we less expected, but he did it. And when I tell you, this planner has a vision. It actually has like my goals for the year. I'm taking a look right now through it. It has different things for each month. It has my values. It has the year of more or less. It has my joy list. It even has a letter that you write yourself. So when you are feeling discouraged, because, we all go through those moments and we look and we're like, oh my gosh, like, where am I? It even has a moment where you can write yourself a letter and then you can look back on it in the future if you need it. So it tells you like, what do you need more of? For me, the year that I need more rest. I need more sleep. I need to drink more water because yes, I've been very dehydrated. I've been trying. I've been really, really have been trying. Eating more healthy, and then it goes into talk about, what you love about yourself, the memories that makes you smile, your joy list. And then it even has a section for your top goals for the year, things to improve, things to be grateful for, books I would like to read, new things I would like to try. And then it breaks it up by month, which is phenomenal. It even has a section like for finances. So it is just so, so amazing. Again, I can't talk any more highly about this planner, but it had definitely has helped me. And it's like in Philippians, I believe 4:19, where it says, and my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches and glory in Jesus Christ. It's the same thing. So I thought I just needed this, I don't know, a specific planner, but God is like, okay, this is what you need. And this is what I'm going to give you. It's not about our wants. So that's enough, I think, my rant on the planners. But yeah, I use a planner. I also use an electronic planner. That's very, very helpful for me as well. So when I'm on the go, I can just take a look at my phone and I have my Google Excel sheet and it has those items on there as well. Number 4 is my yearly compass. This is another great tool that I would highly, highly suggest. I actually give it to my clients every single year. I did not I don't take credit regarding this yearly compass. It's called the Yearly Compass resource, and I believe it's on yearlycompass.com. I'll make sure that they include that on the notes. And it just goes into explaining the year before, how things were, things that, you worked on last year, anything that you need to pretty much review for the year. You go through your calendar and it just goes through kind of like a highlight of your past year and what that was for you, like lessons that you learned, the risk that you were able to take, the biggest surprise of the year, some of the most important things and people that you were able to surround yourself with. And then it goes into the new year in terms of things, you know, that you would like to accomplish for this year, and what that looks like for the upcoming year. But it's such a great resource. So again, yearlycompass.com, you can find it there. Another great tool and resource for this year is a vision board. Again, I'm a visual learner, so I love having vision boards. Actually, my husband and I finally sat down with all the different various items that we had on our list. And I actually was able to, well, we were both able to create our vision board together. And then on that vision board, we have a section of both of us together. And then it's divided where some of my things personally and some of his things personally that we would each like to accomplish independently and also together. But it's been such a great, these are great tools. So I'm going to repeat them again. Definitely, again, you're going to start with prayer. Number 2, you're going to do a dump list. Okay, 3, and once you get that dump list, then you're going to find yourself a planner, paper and pen, old school, electronically, whatever that looks like, and you're going to plug it in. How are you going to accomplish it and everything else? And remember that we spoke about that specific resource as far as the method, as far as using the SMART goals. And then you also can utilize the yearly compass, kind of like a revision of last year and also this year, just reviewing everything and looking at what last year was and comparing it to this year. And I want to say something. A lot of times we don't stop and we don't take pauses. And we don't gain insight in terms of what that looks like. I love to go through my pictures. I'm a picture person. I love taking pictures, not because of the fact that, being conceited or anything, but I just love taking pictures in the moment. It's a moment in time that you get to capture what happened. So when I look at my pictures, since little, I used to do this. And I just reminisce and I remember what I was doing. I mean, it's just such a great way to connect. So, something else to think about. We spoke about also the yearly compass that you can actually do, the vision board. And the last thing, write yourself a mission statement. What is your mission for this year as your family, as a couple, as yourself, by yourself? Like, what is your mission statement? What is the calling that you have for this specific year? And as you're thinking about that, write it down. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 10 to 15 words and just look at it. You can even put it on your vision board. You can put it on your desk. You can put it in your bathroom. Just write it out. Things do not have to be fancy in order for them to work. So as we're pretty much coming to the final of today's podcast, I want you guys to think about this. And I want to leave you with this as January 2026 will be coming to an end soon. Remember that we don't need to have big and loud goals. We don't need that. We just need them to be clear because God is the God of clarity, and be consistent as well as intentional. You don't need to have a quick answer, but you do need to trust the process. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. Next episode, we're going to be focusing on relationships because it will already be February. It's actually one of my favorite months. It's my anniversary, and our anniversary is February 13th, and it's going to be 33 years, guys. I'm saying that and I'm smiling over here because I cannot believe that it's going to be 33 years. Thank you, Jesus, of being with my partner in love. So I hope that this was, helpful to someone. And I just want you to remember who your anchor is, who your sustainer is for 2026, who your compass is. And I hope that you have a great rest of the day. And until next time, Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw.